All right, the gig's up. I was going to surprise everybody. Chad Bryan is not in the building tonight. In fact, you probably recognize this voice because it is everybody's second favorite host of Inside Edge Prime Time. I'm here, of course, just filling in, and I'm honored. So we had a flashback there. Football season's upon us, but you see the right graphic there. Chad B with us in spirit. TK Dandridge, am I right? You're right. Everybody's right. A little primetime action for you. I'm Eli Moon. We're back here. TK's back. I'm new here. Hello, everybody. I'm new here. Usually Chad Bryan would be sitting in the seat, but I am here. I'm rocking and rolling with my guy TK Dandridge. We are up and at it. We got a lot to talk about when it comes to football here, folks. A ton to talk about when it comes to football. We have the Browns, the aftermath of Week 1 against the Chicago Bears. Spoiler alert, we didn't score a lot of points. I understand that's okay in preseason, but usually want to see a little bit more from the offense. We'll talk about that. Of course, later on, we'll talk some rookie quarterbacks. I'm very curious to pick the brain of one TK Dandridge because he usually calls his shot pretty well. So I want to see what he's thinking when some of these rookie quarterbacks and youngsters out there. And then, of course, we'll talk about two receivers that have something to prove for different reasons and around the same age, a little bit of difference, but who's going to be more important and a better option for their team come the regular season, who's going to have a better year. We'll talk about all of that here on a legal formation. Like I said, I'm Eli Moon, filling in for Chad Bryan, TK Dandridge to my right, your right, everybody's right. And we are rocking and rolling. TK, how are you feeling, man? It's weird being here with you on a Monday, but I'm not complaining.
What's going on, man? Doing quite all right, man. Been a long couple of weeks, these past couple of weeks, but trying to maintain, just trying to juggle everything going on, and keeping a positive attitude about it. But I'm happy to be here, man.
Good. Well, hey, I'm happy to be here with you, man. This is your domain. I'm here. I'm gonna make sure we keep it clean, keep it smooth, and Chad has something to come back to next Monday. So we'll do all that, of course, here with you on the Inside Edge Network. And if you're just tuning in for the first time, make sure you like, subscribe, follow at Inside Edge Net on all the socials. Make sure you smash that notification bell so you know when we're going live for daily shows starting up at 8 o'clock, 7:56 p.m. or 57 p.m. to be exact. 3-minute open, get you started up. And then we have the Daily Spiral returning tonight. Autumn Chisholm, 9 p.m. on Filter with Kyle Cornell. Inside Edge Prime Time. Chad Bryan will be back later. He's taking care of some stuff. He'll be back later for Prime Time. And then, of course, Midnight Run with Anthony Alford, 11:30 to 1 a.m. So Inside Edge Net, so where you're going to want to go, all the socials. InsideEdgeNetwork.com is where you're going to want to read about all your favorite personalities. Check out our partners page. Going to do without our title sponsor, The Brothers Lounge. And, of course, Fanatics.com, AlleyRoseFragrances.com, W Energy, Monster Moments, SportsMemorabilia.com, and Omega Video Marketing. And make sure you take us out on Roku. Check us out on Roku. Take us wherever. Near or far, here we are on the Inside Edge Network app on Roku. My goodness. TK, a lot to talk about. We got to get into it right away, bud. The Browns lost 34-10. I know that's not necessarily a spoiler alert because the Browns, we're used to L's on a Sunday. And I thought it was hilarious before we get into all the ins and outs of everything that the Browns can't even get a nationally televised primetime preseason game, that they had a 1 o'clock Saturday game. If you blink or forgot about it, you had family things to do, you missed it, unless, you're double A Anthony Alford, who scheduled it around there, the family outing and things like that. But TK, got to ask you, Deshaun Watson, we'll pull the stats up here. Deshaun Watson, 11-15, 126 yards, got 10 points, didn't throw a touchdown. It was Casey Concepcion rushing one in, the rookie, and he fumbled the ball. It looked a little timid in the pocket. Shedeur Sanders, 6 of 11, 79 yards and an interception, and sailed that pass. And then Dylan Gabriel, 5 of 8, 22 yards, and he decided to throw one in the triple coverage. So we got a lot to break down when it comes to this quarterback room. My question to you is, how are you feeling going into week 2 of this preseason now that we've seen Deshaun Watson on a field for the first time in 2 years? And it seems like some of the same tendencies with Shedeur Sanders that people were concerned about last year continue to show their head. And let me be transparent. I'm a Shedeur guy, TK, but you can't have some of the passes. I'm curious. What are your thoughts, my guy?
Well, to be, quite frank with you, I don't want to channel too much of my inner Rick Moranis, but right now I'm feeling real, honey, I'm scared as hell. To be quite honest with you, instead of shrinking the kids, I'm just frightened right now. To be quite honest with you, yes, Deshaun Watson was decent. You see that he only had 4 incompletions on the day. He did lead 2 scoring drives, one that ended with a 50-yard field goal by Andre Schmidt, and, of course, the 14-yard rushing touchdown by Casey Concepcion. He's going to be really exciting to watch, by the way. I thought he did a lot of very nice things, very solid route runner, was able to make a play over on the out route later in that second quarter. before all the starters were able to, go to the Pine and, relax and whatnot. I thought the punt return was absolutely brilliant. Whoever the hell tripped him up on that return that is on this team, you cut his ass today. He would have had at the very least, a 50-yard return on that one if he had not sprung it to the house. So, back to Deshaun Watson. I thought Deshaun Watson was solid. Obviously, the fumble sucked. Then to get Shador in there, he made a couple of nice throws before he threw another idiotic interception and had a fumble himself. Also, Dylan Gabriel threw a bad pick. It's just kind of an uneven, weird taste in your mouth after that game. I know none of the Browns faithful is extremely hyped after that performance, but I do think we are paying attention much too closely to the final score of 34-10 than what actually happened, because you look at the first half, you go in tied.
Right.
Now, this is the brunt of the work from the starters and a little bit from the second unit before Ben Johnson just said, "Hey, I'm going to go to Tim Hortons real quick, grab me some coffee. Antoine Randall, you call the rest of this game. And we get the hell on out of here."
Yeah.
It's very uneven feeling. But at the same time, I do encourage all Browns fans to take everything that happens in this preseason with a grain of salt. Yes, it was a terrible ending. There were a lot of things that you could be extremely happy about. You like the involvement of Casey Concepcion. Like I said before, I thought Spencer Fano had an absolutely beautiful debut. I love the foundation that he sets as a pass blocker. Even on some of the initial blocks, he would miss by going too far outside, and then he would miss the inside plate at first. But his foundation is so solid, he keeps those feet moving laterally and does not get tangled up. And he is obviously very strong as well.
I like that. And TK, not to interrupt, my friend, but I gotta ask you here, because I remember draft time, and me and you don't disagree on a lot of things. Like, we're both in lockstep with the Jets. As long as Breece Hall is okay, they say it's a groin injury, we'll kind of monitor that. But we're both in the Jets are gonna have a good year, like playoff type of vibe for the Jets. So I'm curious, because one thing we disagreed on was the NFL draft and Spencer Fano. Because I remember, if I recall correctly, we're necessarily thrilled because you thought maybe it should have been Caleb Lamu, maybe the other Utah Ute. But now we're at a point now, and I know I was on the other, and that's okay. You know what? Every dog has their day, so I'll take it, at least so far. But it appears the versatility that I was mentioning about Fano, being able to go over to the right tackle side to get Lamu into that left tackle position, it almost seems like he's helping, to your point, helping in this, even that first preseason game, because he can read different ways. He's been able to work from both sides, both tackles. And I thought that was very interesting, to your point, TK. Just wanted to mention that as well.
Yeah, definitely was in my feelings draft night. I was very angry with the Tennessee Titans for stealing my dream of taking Carnell Tate with the 4th overall selection. Very hurt by that. But I knew if I had any common sense whatsoever, I knew that was a possibility going into April, especially with all the talk that had happened. Everyone wanted to call him a Jeremiah Smith merchant. And I'm telling you, he's out to prove everybody wrong. He's out there looking like Diet Randy Moss out there in Titans training camp this offseason. So he's going to have a hell of a year trying to prove everybody wrong. But at the same time, at that point in time, I really didn't want to admit that we had got a great player. Because I was too busy being angry. I get it. Right. But yeah, now I'm just like, look, man, we got the franchise tackle that we need. He's extremely young at 22 years old. He looks like the pick. He looks like the great Khalid almost. 8 inches shorter, but he's still very, very large man with a lively presence to him. So I'm definitely glad to have him part of this offensive line. This mix of young and old that we're going to be getting this year. It's going to be interesting to see how they cohese together.
Yes. Yeah, I agree. I'm very curious, because I was mentioning this yesterday, actually, on Main Event with Robin AA yesterday, TK. I mentioned I'm a little concerned at times about how some of the competition battles are going on in camp. And again, it's not for us to necessarily figure out. That's for Todd Monken. So however he feels he's going to figure these types of situations out offensively and defensively, but more importantly, offensively, because that's been the biggest concern for, I've been I was born in 97, TK. The Browns came back in 99. So they've been a constant rough offense pretty much since I've been alive. So, we're at that point, and for most Browns fans, that's been the case. But you think of the offensive line battle, and I guess that concerns me a little bit at times because you heard DeJuan Jones getting reps from Spencer Fano and then being in a battle, and then these other lineman battles. And I understand there's a lot of fresh blood, a lot of retreads. There's no longer the Joel Batonios, JC Treaders, Wyatt Tellers of the world on this line, even putting Jack Conklin in that. But you don't have that anymore. You have a lot of fresh blood. But I guess I would rather see continuity as opposed to competition at the offensive line position. Those first few weeks, OTA, and then the first week or two of training camp. That's, I feel like, when you should have figured out, hey, who are we running with and want to get the most continuity with? Because we both remember, as Browns fans, that offensive line went through a lot of retreads, a lot of change because of injury, because of guys not being available. And we've seen that become more and more of a trend over the last 3 to 5 years. I'm concerned that they're not going to have enough fluidity as a full offensive line. Now, what you mentioned about Fano makes me a little bit better, feel a little bit better because, yes, he looked strong at the tackle position. There's some other highlights, but I get concerned about the middle, man, because there's some real mean nose tackles in the AFC North, and all it takes is them blowing up the middle of the huddle, essentially, right? Like the line, and then they got some pain. Got some pain coming, whoever is at quarterback. So I'm a little fearful there, man, but you bring that up, and then you also brought up the fact about the quarterbacks, and that's what I want to really kind of pivot to here for a moment, get your thoughts on. Denzel Boston and Casey Concepcion didn't play a ton. Concepcion gets in the end zone, and here's where I'll put my hand up, TK, because I, on draft night, was like Casey Concepcion, maybe Corey Coleman 2.0, and I overreacted. That's my bad. It's my bad. But he gets in there with a rushing touchdown. Boston looked real good at 3 of his 4 targets he caught. He made, I'm not looking for 100 yards or 80 yards. It's a preseason. I just want to see, can you catch the football, and do you look efficient doing so? What were your thoughts out of the wideouts, Boston and Concepcion? And then, we did see, I believe, a little bit of Harold Fannin and Judkins out there, obviously, as well. What did you think of what we saw out of that team offense? If it is Deshaun Watson there, if it is Shador, but just the guys around there that builds up that nucleus.
I'll tell you something, Mooney. Regardless of what happened on Sunday, I'm excited about this receiver group, particularly Isaiah Bond, Denzel Boston, and Casey Concepcion, to be quite honest with you. I've been saying all offseason, these 3 guys need to be your top 3. Now, I understand Jerry Jeudy is the veteran of the group. He still has, I believe, $22 million guaranteed left on his contract.
Yep.
If not more, I think it was, somewhere along the lines of 35 to 40 million total guaranteed once we first got him here. So there's a little bit more cash to go. So, we'll see how that plays out. But at the same time, these young guys got to be your top 3. I just totally think that with how Isaiah Bond's rookie season went, there was a ton of missed opportunity there. There's way too much missed opportunity there. That was a kid that got open quite often. If it wasn't his speed, it was definitely because he got somebody's ankles in a bind and he got free at the last minute. But either the quarterback already got the ball out of his hands to make a bad decision, or he's already on the ground, because he got hit. So a ton of missed opportunity there with Isaiah Bond. I expect that to be replaced somewhat this season. Obviously, I don't expect 16 catches. I expect way more than that, even with the influx of talents that we have this year. Obviously, with Denzel Boston and Casey Concepcion, a lot of people are predicting these 2 gentlemen to come out of the gate quick and get 1,000 yards each, which will be lovely. Don't get me wrong, which would be great. But, with the uncertainty at the quarterback position, I really don't, let's not get too hyped too soon now. Let's figure this thing out. Let's see how things pan out. But I do enjoy watching these young guys, go out there and try to perfect their craft, and especially with a guy like Harold Fannin, who was completely violated by ESPN standards as they ranked him as the 19th best tight end in the NFL. I mean, I understand the young man has only played 16 games, I'm sorry. But to put him at number 19, I hate being one of those guys that says just say you hate Cleveland, but just say you hate Cleveland. I just don't understand that logic at all. But he's had to prove some guys wrong too. So, but I do like this Browns nucleus of talent young talent that is. And I think they're going to bust out in some mad fun.
Yeah, and I think another guy to keep an eye on too, and I may, maybe a little bit of a reach here with the name I'm about to bring up, but Luke Floria, an Ohio guy, an Ohioan, a Mentor High School graduate, signed by the Browns as, I believe, an undrafted free agent back in 2025. And now, he had that big catch from Shedeur before the oversale and the interception and all that later on. But he had that nice catch from Shedeur. He reeled it in. I'm curious to see how he kind of breaks into this receiver room too, because there's a lot of unknowns. Of course, we believe that Denzel Boston is that guy. He can become that alpha wide receiver. Casey Concepcion can be shifty and find his way into open space. That was the big talk coming into the draft, and obviously when the Browns drafted him. The other thing I think about, though, is you mentioned Isaiah Bond, and obviously the Browns have a lot of money, and not a ton. I mean, not the Deshaun Watson level of money, but they have a good amount of money invested into an undrafted free agent, guaranteed money. And that's the thing that makes me think they're going to try to find out what he has, but I would not put it past them to get Luke Floria in there and see what he maybe has during these next few preseason games as well, becoming a rep guy and maybe stealing some opportunities from Isaiah Bond, because we saw other guys take opportunities last year from Isaiah Bond. So I can maybe see Luke Floria being a sleeper, but a sneaky pick rather, out of preseason into the regular season. But one thing I think we agree on, Jerry Jeudy's days at the Cleveland Browns, at least a starting wide receiver, are yeah, exactly, TK. You got it. They're damn near done, because it feels like the Browns have understood, okay, there's some money we'll just okay eating. We're okay eating some of it to get to where we need to get to in the future, in the next few years under Todd Monken. And you know where it sounds great for Jerry Jeudy is a place like San Francisco. I brought this up a few weeks ago, maybe even last week on the network, but I brought up San Francisco. They're missing Ricky Pearsall. He's out for, I believe, the season now. And so they have Deebo Samuel, who I rock with Deebo. He's a little bit older now. Mike Evans, awesome, a little bit older. And then, of course, you have Christian Kirk in there. I wouldn't put it past San Francisco that's one of their type of moves, to go grab a sleeper, somebody that isn't really working out in Cleveland, go put him there as a third or fourth. We just need you to catch 2 passes. We don't need you to catch 7 to 8. We just need you to catch 2. I'm telling you, I don't know. I was on the fence yesterday at main event, where if Shedeur Sanders doesn't get the gig, to pivot back to the quarterbacks for a moment, that I don't know if he'll be on this roster at week 1 of the regular season as well, because I believe there's a strong possibility the Browns go, we don't want what happened in the past with quarterback battles where they're chanting for Shedeur and the fans and the Sanders camp and all of that. Whether it's right or wrong, they don't want to deal with that. I think there's a strong possibility both these guys, Jerry Jeudy and Shedeur Sanders, if they don't win starting roles, could be out of Cleveland very, very soon. I know that's a strong take, but I think the Browns are trying to shift towards the dome, and they're not trying to find out, hey, can we make another year or two of Jeudy work? Can we, if we, bring Shedeur in midway through the season, can we make it work? 2027 is a pivotal year for the Browns. They want to make sure they have that offense intact and no distractions. And I'm not calling Shedeur a distraction necessarily. I understand that is a triggering word for a lot of people in Cleveland. I'm a Shedeur guy. But what comes with the quarterback battle is when somebody doesn't win it, and they're as popular as he is, it will become a distraction to the team, because the fans are going to want him in. A lot of the fan base loves him. And, of course, you're going to hear the noise from the Sanders camp. That's just a reality of the situation, TK. But am I off base there? But I mean, maybe I am, but I feel like Jerry Jeudy and Shedeur Sanders could both be out of Cleveland and in different destinations here, in 2 weeks? Oh, we lost TK here for just a moment. We're going to get him back here just a second. If you're just tuning on in here, Illegal Formation, this is the Inside Edge Network, and Chad Bryan would typically be hosting. He is off. He's taking care of some stuff right now. He's back for prime time. And don't worry, TK was just probably trying to process that I said Jerry Jeudy and Shedeur Sanders might be off this roster. He's back with me. TK, am I far off, or do I have something here? Because I think there's a strong possibility the Browns go, let's just sharpen this offense to where guys we can at least move forward with for the most part. And then, of course, Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I do think that may be a bit extreme to say that Shedeur would be gone, but I do understand 150,000% where you're coming from, because we've seen it in the past. We've seen it in the past here. When we drafted Johns 22nd overall, and of course Brian Hoyer was coming back from the brutal injury week 4 in that primetime game against Buffalo. So yeah, I get it, man. You really don't want the whole division of not only the team but the organization. If the division gets outside of the organization, it leaks to the fans. Like it's just a complete mess from there. And I hate admitting it. I always say, make the main thing, and keep it that way. But at the same time, the main thing can get touched at any given time, and this is an issue that could possibly end up touching that. So if they do decide to flip the kid, I will be disappointed. But at the same time, if he doesn't win the battle, it's, he's got no one to blame but himself at this point. I do understand the kid is young. I know his career isn't over yet, but this is a dire straits type of situation, my friend.
Yeah.
This is how life in the NFL is going to be and how it has been for a number of passers. Just this decade alone, you already know. Everyone that has watched the NFL since 2020 knows that the NFL has a terrible NFL quarterback developmental problem, and it is rearing its ugly ass head every 15 minutes, whether we want to see it or not.
Yep. No, exactly. You're spot on, TK. And it's frustrating. I'm a Shedeur guy, like I mentioned, but I just see that if he doesn't get this gig, and the split reps in practice this week coming up against the Buffalo Bills makes me lean towards he may not be a Cleveland Brown much longer, which does disappoint me, but I wish him the best. And I'll say this as we go to break here. The name or the team rather to look out for when it comes to Shedeur Sanders, if he is on the move. If the Browns say, hey, you know what? We're going to rock with Deshaun Watson, and then Dylan Gabriel is going to be the backup that we're not really worried about ever getting in the game. Hopefully not. And then Taylor Green's our project, because you don't want typically two projects on your roster. And if they still view Shedeur as a project, and Taylor Green as a project, that wouldn't make a lot of sense, I think, for the Browns front office. So a team to keep an eye out for, TK, the Washington Commanders. Jaden Daniels already suffered injuries there in Washington. Marcus Mariota as the backup already got injured in preseason. So it's a very volatile quarterback room in terms of injuries. So wouldn't that be the closest way for him to get on the field? And there's at least some offensive weapons there where he could maybe get some playing time. So again, a little bit of a long shot, but I would say keep an eye on Washington if the rumors start heating up that Shedeur Sanders is going to be on the move. So kind of keep an eye on all that, TK. We got so much to get into, man. I can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm here with TK Dandridge on Illegal Formation. I'm Eli Moon, filling in for Chad Bryan, who's back later on for prime time, taking care of some business right now. But we are with you for the next 38 minutes or so. We're going to take you damn near right up until the start of the evening stream. So excited for all that. Excited for all of you to be with us. I got to do something real fun here, TK. This is what happens when we get new commercials. I got to bring it back just like that. Here's what happens. We have new commercials. We just got, of course, our new titled sponsor, the Brothers Lounge. It's on 11609 Detroit Avenue. 11609 Detroit Avenue. Great live music all week long, TK. Great food. Chef Win his Winnings Bites. They have burgers, wings, fries, nachos, anything you could think of, TK. Chef Wynn's chefing it up, and it's a phenomenal menu. Double A and I were there Saturday. We had some great food, so get there, 11609 Detroit Avenue, the Brothers Lounge. All you out there listening, check it out. Hear a great show, get some great food. Double A had the voodoo pasta. That was phenomenal. Double A gave a glowing review, and you can't go wrong with, of course, Chef Wynn and the Brothers Lounge, new titled sponsor of the Inside Edge Network. We're going to take a quick pause, though, here, TK and I. Had to do a little switcherooski, move a few things around from studio to studio. We went to prime time for a minute, but we're going to be back here, and we're talking rookie quarterbacks. Fernando Mendoza, Carson Beck, a lot to take in. Drew Aller, anybody? We'll talk about all of them here on Illegal Formation, coming right back after this.
Looking for an iconic Cleveland music venue that features premier entertainment, spirits, and food? Well, look no further than the Brothers Lounge. They offer a variety of live entertainment acts weekly, along with a diverse selection of beer, wine, and fine spirits, not to mention Chef Wynn's food menu, which has been crafted with traditional American fare with a modern twist. So come on out and enjoy the warm hospitality and make some new friends right here in your backyard. For more information, head over to brotherslounge.com and check them out for yourself at 11609 Detroit Road. That's right near the border of Cleveland and Lakewood. The Brothers Lounge, proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader.
Key On Sports is the leader in Ohio high school athletic coverage in written, print, and video streaming. From the latest news and results and written content to the high school football game of the week every Friday, Key On Sports has you covered. The vision of 15-time published author Vince McKee has become the most trusted site in Ohio high school athletic news. From podcasts to player profiles, Key On Sports is your one-stop for all of it. Visit them today at keyonsports.com or on YouTube at Key On Sports. Check out their socials on Twitter and Facebook as well.
Please support the new Inside Edge Network by liking, subscribing, and following us on your favorite social media platforms. That's at Inside Edge Net across Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, X, and IG. And don't forget to download our new app over on Roku. And as always, thank you for supporting your favorite shows on the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader for news, talk, sports, entertainment, and mental health. Fanatics isn't just our name, it's who we are. Loyal, passionate fans, dedicated to our favorite teams and to the sports we love. That's why we're honored to be able to offer fans the world's largest collection of official sports apparel and sports jerseys from all leagues, teams, and players you love. We feature a wide selection of gear from every league, including the NFL, MLB, NBA, NHL, and NCAA merchandise, which allows us to serve fans of football, baseball, hockey, basketball, lacrosse, soccer, golf, and everything else that gets your heart pumping. Go to InsideEdgeNetwork.com under our Partners section to find our link to check out all of what Fanatics has to offer. Fanatics, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Clean energy, bold flavors, no jitters. See why people won't shut up about Dubby. Whether you're starting your workday or getting ready to exercise, Dubby Energy helps you lock in and focus. Over 15 different flavors to choose from. Order Dubby Energy right now and find out more information by checking out our partners page on InsideEdgeNetwork.com. Also, use that promo code InsideEdge10 to receive 10% off your order. Dubby Energy, your energy-focused sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Discover our collection of handcrafted candles made with clean, minimal ingredients. Every product thoughtfully created in small batches free from harmful toxins for mindful everyday indulgence. Hand-poured in coconut soy wax with natural wood wicks. They offer long-lasting burn and rich fragrance. Find out more about Alley Rose Fragrances by checking out their link on our partners page at InsideEdgeNetwork.com. And if you're a first-time customer, use the promo code InsideEdge20 to receive 20% off your order. AlleyRoseFragrances.com, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader.
And welcome back to Illegal Formation here on the Inside Edge Network. I know that voice is not Chad Bryan. He'll be back later on for prime time. He's taking care of some business. So you get me, Eli Moon, and of course, your favorite regular, arguably, Chad and him will have to figure out a vote. They'll have to get a voting system out. But definitely one of your two favorite co-hosts of Illegal Formation, TK Dandridge, here with me. And he has given us all the analysis you can think of. You're back here rocking with you, Inside Edge Network. TK, some news coming in from Ian Rappaport, right about 35 minutes ago now. Rookie wide receiver Jordan Tyson, who's been a standout during training camp, this is per Rappaport on Twitter, is expected to be out roughly 2 months with his hamstring injury per Ian Rappaport and Mike Garofalo. He's been consulting with experts, Tyson, and he could begin the season on short-term injured reserve. A lot to be said there because Browns fans were obviously, and I was in that camp where get Tate, get Tyson. If Tate's not there, then get Tyson. And they didn't end up with either of them. They ended up with Fano, who spent a lot of time talking about in that opening segment. But now Jordan Tyson out for 2 months. So now it's something to keep an eye on for the Saints. They already dealt with the injury slew from Chris Olave, where to the point he almost thought about retiring. And now they get him back on track, and Jordan Tyson going through some of these woes, and kind of expected, at least from some draft experts, draft analysts, and the analysis was that, hey, he had injury issues at Arizona State. That is something to worry about, his durability. So we'll kind of keep an eye on all that, TK. But yeah, no Tyson for the Saints for a little bit. We'll see what that does for Tyler Shuck, who Mike Sando of The Athletic was on with Double A Anthony Alford last week for Midnight Run and spoke about that most experts believe, that Tyler Shuck can make the biggest jump out of all the quarterbacks in the second year. Now, TK, we could dive into Tyler Shuck. We could talk about some other quarterbacks. That's what we're going to do here for the next segment, next 15, 20 or so. We're going to talk about some rookies and some younger quarterbacks, second year. We'll leave those guys in there as well because some of them are still unproven. I want to talk about some of these rookie quarterbacks. Let's start in Vegas because that was something me and you talked about, you and I, Fernando Mendoza. We spent a good amount of time talking earlier in pre-show about Fernando Mendoza. What are your thoughts? He had a real strong preseason start or, run, in that game, and he looked pretty good. Clint Kubiak, reports are coming out, the Raiders' first-year head coach, former Seattle Seahawks offensive coordinator, thinking, hey, we're going to give Mendoza some more first-team reps. Am I reading a little bit into this too much when it comes to Mendoza maybe starting sooner than we had expected? A lot of us on the network believed it's going to be at least, half the season, if not longer almost, for Mendoza. Is that still the time check you believe for Fernando Mendoza to become the heir to maybe the Raiders' throne with what they're building there?
Oh, no question whatsoever. I don't think any franchise other than maybe the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets that would willingly give someone a 5-year, $172 million pact that was essentially a 1-year, $22 million deal if you didn't plan on at least having this guy as your number one guy going into the season. I said earlier, Mendoza, for the most part, I don't think he sees the field until week 6 at the earliest. But that's if Kirk Cousins is playing absolutely astronomically horrible. Yeah. So if that doesn't happen, if the Raiders aren't 1-5 or 0-6, and Kirk Cousins is leading the NFL interceptions like Geno Smith did last year, I don't think you're going to see Fernando Mendoza too much. But if that does happen, I'm going to give it a limit to week 6 at the absolute earliest that we see 15 out there for the Las Vegas Raiders.
It's going to be interesting. They got a lot of weapons out there. I was talking a little bit last night, just referencing, for the viewers out there that got to watch a little bit of main event last night. I brought this up, TK. I'm a little bitter. And you know me, it's very rare for me to be bitter. Very rare. I try not to be a bitter person. I wake up and I smile and, I got a little pep in my step. I'm ready to move. But I saw the Raiders on offense, and I saw you got Ashton Janty in the backfield. You got Brock Bowers at tight end. The receivers, okay, we may have had them beat. I think you're going to see where I'm going here. But they had all the intangibles. The line is a little better. They obviously brought in Linderbaum from Baltimore. So, Tyler Linderbaum being there, that's a big addition for the Raiders. It almost reminds me of the 2018-2019 Browns when they had Jarvis Landry. Hollywood Higgins was still a fun, hey, what could he become still? And he was making some big plays. He had Nick Chubb and then Kareem Hunt obviously added to that backfield. The line was not old and decrepit at that point. And you had a guy, and I know you got to be careful around, Cleveland saying his name because you could run into the wrong people that get mad at you. But Baker Mayfield, he was obviously the Browns guy for a moment there. So I'm a little bitter, TK, and Rob told me yesterday, look, it's okay. You're probably a year away from you having that same experience because you're probably going to 27, and it's kind of where my mind's at. I'll talk a little bit later about that on prime time when we talk about the Browns later, about what exactly they do for this year moving forward. But all that to be said, I'm a little bitter, man. And shout out Tom Brady, shout out the Raiders are doing their thing, and Clint Kubiak's an offensive guru. I do believe he's going to change the way the Raiders are perceived in the NFL. But I'm a little bitter, TK. I can't lie. I'm a little upset that they have all the offensive weapons. My goodness.
A lot of us are, man. To be quite honest, and it didn't really help that Baker's running his mouth again. Talking about it's time to show him which one's the better home. But I get that. That's what he's going to do. He's going to run his mouth. Somebody comes to him, with something, he's going to come right back at him. I don't expect anything less out of Baker Mayfield. But anyway, I think with some of these newer guys that are coming in, especially these rookies. You're not going to expect an influx of these young guys to play early, because there are a lot of these veterans that are still out here with, pretty big deals to worry about. Obviously, we just talked about the Kirk Cousins, Fernando Mendoza situation. And then you look at Arizona, and, we were getting ready to talk about Carson Beck and how well he played in that Hall of Fame game. I definitely thought that there was a chance that the Arizona Cardinals could have the most interesting quarterback battle in all of the NFL. I know a lot of people are obsessed with, what's going on with Shador. Is he going to beat out Deshaun Watson? There are some people that think, Quinn Ewers may have a chance against Malik Willis. By the way, I thought Malik Willis did very well in his preseason game. That first drive that he had, very nice. Couple mistakes here and there, but, you thought the out route, to get things started off was really nice. Obviously, the big catch by the Texas Tech rookie Caleb Douglas. That kid's going to be a big part of their offense out in Miami this year. They're going to do everything that they can to get those young guys together. But I think Caleb Douglas is going to be the one on the forefront as Chris Bell continues to recover from the ACL. And they figured out what to do with Kevin Coleman Jr. But yeah, back to the Arizona Cardinals. They finally get the deal done with Jacoby Brissett. They give him a $15 million pack that has the ability to reach $21 million with incentives, of course. So looks like he's going to be their week one starter. But I definitely thought Carson Beck played well enough to at least garner some consideration. And obviously, everyone knows that I love Gardner Minshew. I am a Minshew mania dude. So I was definitely looking forward to hey, maybe 15 gets another starting opportunity, because he has yet to capture that efficiency that he put up during the midst of a fire sale, being a 6th-round pick by the Jacksonville Jaguars. Those first 2 years of his career, you're thinking like, wow, this kid, basically just came out of nowhere and just says, I'm going to post a damn near 4-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio while being on one of the worst teams in the NFL. So, it's always nice to see him out there playing. But I definitely think Carson Beck's gonna have to wait a little bit, but I definitely think the future is bright with him. I definitely think it would not hurt to roll the dice on him. I know everybody's looking for 2027 already. They want to see who's going to be at the top of that quarterback class in April of next year. Look, I get it, but at the same time, I really just want us to focus on what's happening right now. You have 3 relatively solid options. I definitely think the Arizona Cardinals can surprise some people, because you're talking about how the Raiders have weapons. The Arizona Cardinals have weapons too. I mean, they signed Tyler Algier, Kendrick Bourne in free agency. They were Isaac Seumalo as well. He's going to be a starter for them. They draft Jeremiah Love with the 3rd overall pick, which I was kind of shocked about. I definitely thought they were going to go with Fran Malanoa to try to strengthen up that offensive line, even though that may have been kind of high for a right tackle. I do think he was a guy that deserved that kind of recognition because he was that good at the University of Miami. But they went ahead and went with Jeremiah Love. Let's add to this offense a little bit. Give some more pieces. We already got the best tight end in football in Trey McBride. Now you get Michael Wilson, who's going to be their number 1 wide receiver. You still got MHJ, who made a nice catch in the end zone in the Raiders preseason game. How about that?
I mean, my goodness. I mean, think about if they can do something with Marvin Harrison Jr., a guy that, I mean, everybody was saying this might be the best Ohio State wide receiver to come out. This might be the man. And now, of course, we're having Jeremiah Smith discussions, TK, as we gear up for 27, as we look ahead a little bit here, just a little bit. But you bring up Arizona, and, a lot of people don't think about that offense, but they are sneakingly good. And Jacoby Brissett kept them above water in terms of, I know not win-loss, but they were in a lot of games. The Cardinals weren't getting blown out of the arena, the stadium every single week. So I believe there's something to take a look at when it comes to Arizona. And I think the one thing that's going to hurt Carson Beck, and I've been reading reports that he's day-to-day right now with a rib injury. If he doesn't get any significant time in week 2 for the Cardinals, I think that kind of aligns for Jacoby Brissett to be the starter, and then Beck's just going to have to outplay him or hope there's something where Brissett maybe loses the job. That would be his hope there. But Beck's an interesting one, TK. Now, the other thing I'm interested in, too, is you got a guy like Drew Aller, right? Drew Aller is a guy that you kind of look at not right now, not right this instant. A guy that, hey, he's not going to beat out Aaron Rodgers. But what you do see with him is like, okay, if it's not Will Howard, it might be Drew Aller. And how ironic would it be if the Browns have to face another Ohio guy, a guy that obviously, Drew Aller, I believe, Medina. So a guy that could go from Medina, Ohio, a lifelong Browns fan, to being a thorn in our side for the next decade. TK, Beck, you bring up, he definitely could see some playing time this year. Mendoza, I'd imagine we'll see him this year. We may not see Drew Aller this year, but my goodness, we talk about 2027 and looking ahead. If we have to look ahead into the division, the Steelers might have their quarterback of the future possibly there. And I know it's early. It's one preseason game. I get it. But this is back-to-back years the Steelers have invested a decently high draft pick at quarterback. First with Will Howard, who I believe was a 3rd or 4th round pick, I believe, for the Steelers. And then 6th round pick. My apology. But 3rd round pick for Aller. So you have still investments at quarterback for the Steelers. I don't know. I'm a little nervous about Drew Aller in the future for the Pittsburgh Steelers as a Browns fan.
I remember a lot of Browns fans were enamored with the possibility of getting him in the draft. But, obviously we weren't thinking 3rd or 4th round. We were definitely thinking round 1, maybe pick 4 or 5. Yeah. But then, he has the rough 2025 season. Everybody had a rough year at Penn State in 2025. It was it was just unfortunate the way it went down because, the kid has talent. He's a very good player. And there were a lot of other talented kids on that Penn State roster as well. You think about Nick Singleton, Danny Dennis Sutton, Julian Fleming, our former guy, when he was at Ohio State.
Yep.
Olave Vega being the big one, him going to the Ravens. So, they had talent. It was just a cluster of a bad year, man. And it happens. And we're so unforgiving when things like that happen. And I get it. It's a results-driven business. I do understand. So, with that going on, it's just, you wish it would have ended better. But, hey, it's not the end of the world. He's got a whole new opportunity. He's still in the same state. He can make it happen.
He sure is. Yeah, you think about that Penn State to Pittsburgh, and he stayed in the same vicinity dang near his whole life in terms of football. So, my goodness, you look at that for Drew Aller. You look at this, the influx of rookie quarterbacks, second-year guys getting their first real opportunity. When you mentioned Malik Willis in Miami, of course, he had some opportunity to step in Green Bay, but he's not been called on to be the guy for a franchise since Tennessee took him. And in the second round, I believe, of the NFL draft, 6-7 years ago now. So you see that, TK, I'm not going to lie. I have some thoughts later for prime time. And I know, it's unfair for me to maybe tease for something, but it's just a few hours away. And I know you'll be listening. Everybody at home will be listening. I got some thoughts when it comes to the Browns quarterback room, not only just this year, but in the future, how they can maybe look to shape this to be something we can be excited about when it comes to Brook Park, the Dome, things of that nature. So we'll look into all that. But TK, I'm going to have some things to say later. And Chad B, usually lets me go off the cuff. I'm allowed to just start going off on a tangent. I'm going to probably have one tonight. So that'll be later on at Inside Edge Prime Time, 10 p.m. tonight. But TK and I aren't going anywhere. In fact, we're doing a little switcherooski because, like I said, we got to move some things over. Guess what? We like to move on the fly here. We hope you're having a great time. And we can't wait to come back with you because here's why. We got two receivers. First off, we get to see all of you. But we have two receivers. And we got to talk about them. Stefon Diggs, he's now a Washington Commander. And A.J. Brown, he's a New England Patriot. They both have drama off the field this offseason for one reason or another. We're going to talk about who could have the better year and maybe who's more important to their team when it comes to two offenses, two young quarterbacks drafted the same year, a pick apart. Who's going to be more important for their third-year quarterback? Is Drake May going to benefit? Is Jaden Daniels going to benefit? Do they all benefit? Usually that doesn't happen. So we'll talk about all that, of course, here to close out the show. We're coming back. It's a legal formation. TK Dandridge. Am I right? You're right. Everybody's right. I'm Eli Moon. We're back right after this.
Dine, drink, and dance at the premier spot in town. It's time to check out all of what our friends over at the Brothers Lounge have to offer. Everything from weekly live entertainment, a wide variety of different beers, wines, and spirits, and a nice, really crafted American fare menu with a twist courtesy of Chef Wynn that'll make your mouth water. So, what are you waiting for? Head over to the Brothers Lounge at 11609 Detroit Road or check out their website, brotherslounge.com, to learn more about what you've been missing out on. Brothers Lounge, proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Whether searching for a baseball autograph by your favorite World Series slugger, a signed football by an iconic Hall of Famer, or the jersey of a world-famous soccer star, you've come to the right place. Here at sportsmemorabilia.com, the web's leading source for authentic sports memorabilia, you'll find more than 500,000 authentic products from nearly every professional sports league, team, and players. Not only will you find your next prized sports possession with ease, thanks to superb customer service and tremendous site experience, you'll have satisfaction and peace of mind that every product listed comes complete with a certificate of authenticity and is fully backed by the sportsmemorabilia.com lifetime authenticity guarantee. Check out sportsmemorabilia.com by heading over to the partners page on our website, InsideEdgeNetwork.com. SportsMemorabilia.com, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Discover our collection of handcrafted body mists made with clean, minimal ingredients. They offer a natural alternative to synthetic fragrances, perfect for sensitive skin and those seeking clean, mindful self-care, and the perfect gift for you and your special someone. Learn more about all Ellie Rose Fragrances has to offer right now by clicking the link on our partner page at InsideEdgeNetwork.com. First-time customers use that promo code InsideEdge20 to receive 20% off your order. EllieRoseFragrances.com, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Monster Moments Photography is a husband and wife wedding photography team based in Cleveland, owned and operated by Inside Edge Network's very own Ryan Mosser and his wife Hallie. For the past 10 years, they've captured more than 100 weddings across Northeast Ohio and beyond, always working together as a true two-person team. Their style centers on authentic, emotional storytelling, documenting the real moments between two people in love and creating images that feel natural, comfortable, and true to the couple. Rooted in Northeast Ohio, but inspired by their travels, Ryan and Hallie bring a warm, personal approach to every wedding day. Their work blends experience, consistency, and a genuine passion for helping couples relive their best day through timeless photography. Learn more by checking out Monster Moments Photography's link on our partners page at the InsideEdgeNetwork.com website. Monster Moments Photography, a proud sponsor of the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader. Find us on InsideEdgeNetwork.com for the latest information on your favorite shows, personalities, and network partners. Plus, we have a merch shop. That's right, we have network polos, t-shirts, champion jackets, hats, and bottles. Rep the network. Every purchase supports independent sports and entertainment media. Thank you for your support from all of us here at the Inside Edge Network, Cleveland's digital leader for news, talk, sports, entertainment, and mental health.
Okay, Chad B, I see what you did there. You know, Chad B, man, he doesn't usually show you all the end of that beat, but my goodness gracious. Sometimes you got to start it from a different spot of the beat. Just throw you guys a little bit for a loop, keep you on your toes out there. Excuse me. Welcome back, everybody. Illegal Formation here on the Inside Edge Network. TK Dandridge, one of your favorites here. Of course, with me, I'm Eli Moon. We are back in the saddle on the saddle adjacent. TK, I apologize. Sometimes you get some of my prime time, my lingo from prime time. Chad and I, that's what happens when you stay up till about 4 or 5 in the morning and you don't get much sleep. You kind of just start saying stuff that you hope sticks, you know, and usually I make a lot of rhymes and we make it. We make it here. I'm here now with you. We're rocking. We're doing the thing. And everybody out there is rocking with us, TK. And hopefully you're enjoying yourself. If you've been here for the first time or you haven't been here before, we'll get TK back in a moment. But take the time to remind you. Like, subscribe, follow at Inside Edge Net on all the socials. YouTube, X, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch. Smash that notification bell so you know when we're going live. The Daily Spiral is back this week, 8 p.m. and then 9 p.m. on Filtered, 10 p.m. Inside Edge Prime Time, and 11:30 Midnight Run. A lot of great stuff here for you. Autumn Chisholm is back. So she'll be on at the top of the hour, just about 42 minutes away. So we'll be done around the 7:30, 7:40 mark, and then we'll hand it off in 20 minutes to start the evening stream. I'll eat some dinner. Pop Moon and I are talking about what we should do for dinner. I think he's making some pasta sales. I'm excited about that. And then, of course, we will be back for prime time later on. So like, subscribe, follow Inside Edge Net on all the socials, InsideEdgeNetwork.com. Read about your favorite personalities like TK Dandridge and everybody who does a great job. Go check out our partners page. Couldn't do without them. Our title sponsor, the Brothers Lounge on 11609 Detroit Avenue on the border of Cleveland and Lakewood. Great live music all week long and great food from Chef Win and Winning's Bites. Just incredible. Winning Bites has burgers, nachos, fries, wings, all the great stuff. Go check it out. You cannot miss out. You got to get there. The Brothers Lounge. They're on 11609 Detroit Avenue, title sponsor of the Inside Edge Network. And take us wherever you want to go. Inside Edge Network app on Roku. Near or far, here we are. And one more time for the website, because I'd be remiss without telling you, go grab a shirt, a hat, a mug, a polo, a windbreaker, Rep Cleveland's digital leader. Get some nice for you. Windbreaker's going to come in handy, TK, very, very soon. So we'll keep an eye on all that. All right, let's get into it. Got a few minutes left here in the show. I talked to you about this earlier, and I could feel I guess we'll talk about two guys that sometimes are just a pain in the behind, but they're good receivers. But they can kind of have some of these lingering off the field stuff, whether it's just outside noise or whatever. In Stefon Diggs' case, we'll start with him. He obviously was found not guilty for felony strangulation and misdemeanor assault and battery. It was a case that stemmed in December 2025. It was with the chef, the live and personal chef, but found not guilty. But that was the thing that caused the Patriots to not even, they said, we're cool. You're dealing with all this. The court date got pushed past the Super Bowl. We're cool. We're going to stay away from you. Good luck in Washington. He's now a Washington Commander. And that's interesting with Deebo Samuel being out. Now they have a lot of questions. And Brandon Ayuk thinks he's going to the Washington Commanders. I don't think so. So Stefon Diggs is probably going to be the guy there. And then we look at A.J. Brown, TK, and I'll hand it off to you in just a second. You look at A.J. Brown, the New England Patriot, almost like everybody predicted that for months. Of course, there was rumors and other things incorporated we won't get into on this show that kind of made this feel like more of a reality before it was a reality. But A.J. Brown now paired up with Drake May. He says, this is a dream come true. You know, this is his home. This is where he's wanted to be. He's a Patriots fan growing up. He's so happy, TK. He is so happy right now. I've never seen A.J. Brown more happy, except for when they throw the ball to him about 17 times. Then he's really, really happy. So my question to you, and I'll hand it off to you here, who has a better year? And I guess the bigger question too, and this may be separate in terms of better and more important, but who's going to have a better year and who needs to have the, more important year? Who plays more of an important role on their team? Stefon Diggs or A.J. Brown?
Well, I think the player that needs to have a better season out of the two is definitely going to be Stefon Diggs, because I'm going to put it quite blatantly. Stefon Diggs had been an ass the entire year. Of course, with the case going on, whatever the hell that was, that was a mess in itself. Nothing I really care to get into. We're going to move right along, but of course, with the Cardi B fiasco that seemed to linger throughout the entire NFL season, guy was just an ass the entire year, and I really just want to see him get back to ball. Granted, he had a wonderful year last year. They did make the Super Bowl. There's no reason that you should have got the Trent Dilfer treatment, getting canned after playing the Super Bowl after your first year with the team. There was no reason for him to not be on that roster, other than the fact that he was a complete ass the entire year. So you move on from that, and not to take anything away from Arthur Juan Brown either, because he also was an ass last year. He and Jalen Hurts, for that matter. You guys are both successful, very attractive black men. This shouldn't be a problem. Find a woman of your own. Quit with this. You guys are heading towards your 30s. If you're not already in your 30s anymore, I don't need any more of this kid shit in my locker room or on the field at all. I don't need it. No one needs it. Yeah. So, but L's all around for all of you. Granted, you guys are still rich. Don't make more money than I'll ever make in my damn lifetime. But we get past that situation. I definitely think they're in much better situation than they were last year. They have, oddly enough, Stefon Diggs could possibly be the best wide receiver in Washington, D.C. right now. No disrespect at all to Terry McLaurin, old block forever. But at the same time, you think of the production that Stefon Diggs has had over the past 5 years. He could easily end up leading the Commanders in receiving. But, I definitely think that'll still be Terry. But at the same time, his position as the leader of that offense could change. Stefon Diggs is still a very good player. And, this is a guy that averages upwards of 85 catches and 1,000 yards a season. So it's going to be interesting to see what plays out. But I definitely think A.J. Brown is going to have an amazing season with Drake May. I definitely think he came around at just the right time, because you saw how good Drake was as a rookie. You saw that he could make plays on a team with a porous offensive line. When you got Badarian Lowe and Dimitri Jacobs as your starting tackles, I don't think you're going to get too much done. Especially at the NFL level. So, for him to be able to have a solid rookie season and then follow it up with a borderline MVP campaign and a trip to the Super Bowl, you're getting him just the right time, just right at the end of that rookie deal. You get a little bit wider window to go ahead and challenge for another Super Bowl appearance, if not get that trophy. So, with A.J. Brown, I think he's going to have a phenomenal year. Expect 80-plus catches. 1,100 yards, 6 to 7 touchdowns at the very least. I definitely think both of these guys are going to be very good players for their respective teams. But all in all, Stefon Diggs has got to show out this year. He just has to.
Yeah, and earlier on, I'm not going to lie, TK, I've been calling my shot saying the Patriots finished last in the AFC East. And I may be wrong, but that kind of leads me to my point in terms of who needs to have a better 2026 season. Yes, it'd be nice for Stefon Diggs to have a great 2026 year for the Commanders, be that either the alpha or if this has been Terry McLaurin's team. He's been there so long for the Commanders. It could still be a point where he just fits in where he needs to, helps give some relief to Jaden Daniels. They're obviously without Laremy Tunsil, so they're going to have to figure out the left tackle position, and having a guy like Diggs that can get open quick, same with Terry McLaurin, that's going to help out. So I'm curious there, but here's why I say A.J. Brown needs to have a better 2026 season, and needs to. Because we've seen with young quarterbacks, and Drake May still in his third year, Who was in their fourth year when Odell Beckham Jr. came to town here in Cleveland? Baker Mayfield. We've seen it with other quarterbacks, even one Jalen Hurts. And I know he's a little bit older, but still, when he got A.J. Brown, he was kind of still getting his bearings as the man in Philadelphia. And he had to work with it, and he worked with A.J. Brown well. They were buddies. They were rocking with each other. They won a Super Bowl. And then it wasn't cool. They got the ring and they said, guess what? Now we really don't like each other. This is not cool no more. And I think that's why it's so imperative for A.J. Brown to have the better year, because there's a lot of talk right now about A.J. Brown just wants the football. A.J. Brown just wants the football. A.J. Brown's not happy if he doesn't get the football, which may be true to a degree. Newsflash, wide receivers like it when you throw it to them 10 to 12 times. I know that's not always in the game plan, but they're going to be upset when they don't get the ball. It'd be like a running back getting 10 carries. You'd be a little frustrated. So I understand where A.J. Brown comes from a receiver standpoint, being frustrated that way, TK. But we've seen it. And I used the Baker example. I obviously even used Jalen Hurts, and A.J. Brown started kind of dealing with that. And other quarterbacks have had that trouble of having to force feed the ball. Even think about Buffalo. Josh Allen and Stefon Diggs. When he came in there, of course, they had that success, but then it started feeling like Josh Allen was really centering in on Diggs. They ended up moving off of Diggs. Josh Allen has one of his best years the year after. Kind of crazy to think about. But I believe it's going to be so important for Drake May to have somebody that, hey, I'm here, but don't feel any pressure if you don't get it to me. Like, if I'm here, I'm open, get it to me, but don't force feed me. I don't need 10 to 12 targets. I'd rather have 4 to 5, 6 targets that are going to be efficient, get me in the end zone, and I can break away and get a big play, or 2 or 3. It's going to be so imperative. There's a lot of bad looks in terms of going A.J. Brown's way, from the media, from fans, from Philadelphia, clearly, obviously. There's a lot of people that are like, man, is he even worth the squeeze? Like, we may have avoided a headache. And he has every opportunity to become the number one guy in New England. Not just receiver, like offense. And maybe the most important player on that team, which is crazy to think about. Because, yes, Drake May is doing very well. He had a great second year. I'd expect him to at least move forward. And that's what the Patriots fans would expect to move forward. Now, is that going to turn into wins? We'll see. It's going to come up to A.J. Brown. Not disrupting the game plan in terms of, hey, just get it to me, but being a key component of that. And if he can really help, to your point, usher in Drake May, like, hey, don't worry, you got somebody here to safety blanket, but then, hey, toss it out to the other guys. Like, hand it off to Travion Henderson. Like, he's there. You get it out. Do a little screen pass. Do those other things. But if he can provide that safety blanket and not become where it's unbearable, for lack of better words, for Drake May, where he feels like that's the only option is I got to force feed my star receiver. That's why I believe the Patriots are going to be in a rough spot. So who needs to have a better year? I believe it's A.J. Brown. I do believe in terms of Diggs, you need to have a year. But I think A.J. Brown, this is such a pivotal year because he could still get another big contract after this one's done based off how he does these next few years. And I think he could get one more big contract, and it's going to be dependent on how he starts off early in New England. But if he comes out and you hear week 4, week 5, and hey, I only got 4 targets today, and, we won by 7, but I'm mad. It's going to be like, okay, man, are you happy anywhere? And that's where the concern is going to come in. And that's why, TK, I have the Patriots finishing last because I do believe that's going to become an issue. I think Drake May and A.J. Brown are going to have a tough time. I think he's going to feel like the pressure I just talked about that you hope he doesn't feel, it's going to be there. You're going to see a lot of force feeding A.J. Brown. I think they'll abandon the running game at times, and I think the Patriots are going to be bad. But, hey, that's why we talk about it early before the season starts so we can come back and look at it, 6 months later and be like, well, or maybe like, yeah, I had it. So keep an eye on all that. TK Dandridge has Stefon Diggs. I have A.J. Brown as the needing to have a better 2026 season. And I'll tell you, there's a lot of guys out there that need to have a better 2026 season. Season's just a few weeks away. And TK, I'm going to hand it off to you here. We're just at the final few minutes of the show. Do you have any final thoughts? We obviously talked some Browns, talked rookie quarterbacks, talked Stefon Diggs and A.J. Brown. It could be about any of that or anything NFL related, football related for that matter, that you have on your mind to close this thing out.
We talked about our QB situation and, others, all these other young quarterbacks that are coming into the league right now. What kind of got me thinking was I was thinking about some of the quarterbacks that are in different places this year. Some former starters, some somewhat new starters that are coming into. Obviously, Geno Smith going back to the Jets, Tua Tagovailoa and Michael Penix Jr. battling out in Atlanta for the starting job. I think Kirk Cousins, back with the Las Vegas Raiders. And then, of course, I go back to Malik Willis with the Miami Dolphins. And, obviously, I don't think there's a lot to be said for this team. I don't think they're going to do much this year, but at the same time, I do think that we may be looking at the next very good up-and-coming ascending quarterback. I do think Malik Willis can hold on to this job. Now, I know there's a lot of people that think, Quinn Ewers may be on his heels, and that may be true because I do think Quinn Ewers does have a lot of talent. However, I do think with the tutelage that he was able to receive in Green Bay, obviously playing behind Jordan Love and having Matt LaFleur in his ear for a majority of the time, I definitely think that will help aid his journey in being the quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. They do have some talented players there. Obviously, Devon Achane is still there. I have a lot of faith in Greg Dulcich to be their tight end one. Remember, he was a fourth-round pick coming out of UCLA a few years ago. Had the really bad concussion when he was with the Denver Broncos. He was on a hot start, actually, as their tight end one. And then had the, concussion. And then the years following had a few injuries as well. Was able to play 10 games for the Dolphins last year, catch 26 passes, including a touchdown. So, just some out of the normal guys that I would, look forward to. I'm hoping that they have, solid seasons and prove their worth, as we go along. So just a lot of new guys in different places that I think are going to do very well this season. And I hope I'm right about that. I'm hoping right about a lot of things.
Yeah, damn right, TK. Hey, that's why we we lean on you at times for some analysis, man, because like Chad always says, man, if you can name the starting offensive line and then the second and third string from left to right, hey, man, we'll lean on TK Dandridge, and you guys should as well, of course. He's got a ton of great football analysis. The guys do a great job. I'm just filling in tonight for Chad, Bryan. But yeah, TK, you guys do great, TK and Chad. Here's my take. And again, of course, Chad will be back with you next week, so we'll just have to text about it, and you can maybe yell at me after the show. Kyler Murray is going to be a top 3 MVP candidate this year. He's going to finish a finalist for MVP.
Wow.
In Minnesota. Because Justin Jefferson's bought in. You don't have a disgruntled star wide receiver there. He said, you know what, Minnesota, I rock with you. He was there at SummerSlam. He's, on the announce table. He's getting the crowd hyped up. He's bought in. He is so Minnesota right now. It's not even funny. He's bought in. If Jordan Addison could stay on the field for whatever reason, stay on the field, you have something there. They have options. Obviously, they brought back Aaron Jones, I believe, at running back. So they have options on that offense, and they were starting to put it together. The Vikings weren't as terrible record-wise as people want to think. They weren't very appealing. They were out of it early, but that's because they had a terrible quarterback situation. J.J. McCarthy was leading a good portion of those games, and it wasn't good for Minnesota. I believe this is the best spot for Minnesota, or for Kyler Murray to be. It is Minnesota. Kevin O'Connell, we've seen what he's done with Sam Darnold. We've seen what he's done with other guys through that Minnesota quarterback room. Even Daniel Jones spent a little bit of time in Minnesota. I know he didn't start really too much there, but he even got some tutelage from Kevin O'Connell.
Yeah.
If anybody's going to help Kyler Murray put down the video game controller and focus on the football field, it's Kevin O'Connell. He's obviously in the hot seat, or at least a little warm seat, it appears, based off the J.J. McCarthy pick and some of the things going on there, letting Sam Darnold go. There's some things that they're going to have to answer, and some points being brought up across national media is there's nobody else to fire. They already got rid of, oh my goodness, Kwesi Mensah from he was here in Cleveland. So they got rid of, they got rid of Kwesi. They literally have got rid of everybody they could, but Kevin O'Connell. So now you look at this, TK, it makes me think a coach that feels the heat, a defense that at least is scrappy. They might not have a ton of stars. They're scrappy. Kyler Murray's going to win a lot of 30-27 games, 34-28. It's going to be some shootouts, but they're also going to be able to manage the ball well. You'll see a few big Aaron Jones games. I'm telling you, Kyler Murray, he's going to have a huge year. I'm telling you, I'm calling my shot. He's throwing 35 touchdowns, if not more. 35 to 40 touchdowns from Kyler Murray this year. It's going to look the closest thing that he was at Oklahoma, TK. And you know what? I'll wear the pie on my face if I'm wrong. But Kyler Murray, he may not win it. I'm not saying win it. We got to see. But top 3 finalists. He will finish as a finalist. He'll go to the NFL awards ceremony, celebrate as a finalist. The Minnesota Vikings, I'm telling you, they might win the NFC North, especially if Kyler Murray does the way he does. I have them slated. The more I've thought week by week, they're going to win anywhere from 11 to 13 games this year. And they probably will win that division. And I think Kyler Murray is going to be able to resurrect his career. And if not, well, we'll see how he does. He's a ranked player, I think, in Call of Duty. So maybe he's got that type of vibe. All right.
Well, they have the roster to do so. So
yes.
we'll see what happens.
We'll see, TK. Hey, one thing's for certain. Me and TK, we're saying JETS. We're not saying let's go, but we're saying they may go to the playoffs. We'll keep an eye on all that, see what the Jets look like, and so much more. Maybe I'll pop in with the guys here throughout the season and kind of talk some football, obviously, with my favorite illegal formation guys. But that's TK Dandridge. Am I right? You're right. Everybody's right. Chad Bryan, back with you next week. We have some announcements to come in terms of the show, legal formation in terms of time. Keep an eye on that and day of the week. We'll keep an eye on all that. We got some things we're working on behind the scenes, but TK is not going anywhere. Chad will be back. He's not going anywhere. I was just filling it in. I hope I held it down for Chad B. So for TK Dandridge, I'm Eli Moon. This is Illegal Formation with Chad Bryan and TK Dandridge on the Inside Edge Network. We'll see you here in about 25 minutes. The evening stream starting in just about 20-ish minutes. Get ready. Stay locked in. Inside Edge Net. Follow, like, subscribe so you know when we're going live. We'll see you at the top of the hour. Thanks, TK. Thanks to all of you. We're back next week with Illegal Formation.